Hi there. Welcome to the Networking Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Burchard, the Bowtie Coach. Networking Made Simple is an exploration of networking and social business connections for entrepreneurs, but especially for introverted entrepreneurs like me. It has taken me 24 years to get to the place where I'm comfortable to be on camera, a microphone, or in front of people. My journey is far from over. I have the same challenges I have always had as an introvert. I have just learned how to leverage those introverted traits into positive tools for building business relationships. This podcast is an exploration and sharing of those 24 years of experience, mistakes, and learnings. I will alternate between sharing from my own experiences and interviewing other entrepreneurs to learn from their journey. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Welcome to Networking Made Simple, the podcast that demystifies networking excellence, especially for introverted entrepreneurs. So today I have a buddy of mine, Louis Moreto, with CV Home Watch is what I always have in my head, but it's Coachella Valley Home Watch. So welcome, Lou, and thank you for taking the time to be here today.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how we know each other?
So I started Coachella Valley Home Watch back in 2018. What we do is we provide services for seasonal and part-time homeowners. We give them peace of mind when they're outside the desert that there's some boots on the ground out here looking after their investment out here. So we go every week or every other week, depending on the client, and we do a full inspection and report, both interior and exterior of the house. If there's any issues that require a professional or is going to cost some money, we get on the phone with them. And the other issues are actually listed in the report. The report is time and date stamped and has pictures of any issues that there might be.
So, Lou, before we didn't say, how do we know each other?
I met Stefan at the first B&I meeting I went to back in November of 2018. And we both joined B&I, and it's one of the best ways to network and get referrals for mutual referrals back and forth with your fellow B&I members.
Awesome. Thank you. So, Lou, I address introverts specifically, not only in this podcast, but in general in my coaching business. So as being an introvert myself, I've found ways of leveraging those skills so I can succeed at networking as well as business. So would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? And how has that influenced you in business?
So I am definitely an introvert. Really affected me in the business way because by definition, I'm going to homes that there's nobody there. It does make it more difficult to network. And that's just something that I've basically had to plow through.
And how have you plowed through that?
Well, one of the things I like to tell people is everyone who has a business becomes an expert in whatever their business happens to be. I take time and effort to make sure I know everything about my business. And so having that knowledge and knowing that I know the best practices makes me more comfortable talking to people about it.
Absolutely. That was actually a point that came up in our last interview, which is when you know your content or your material or your business, you're a little bit more comfortable to speak to total strangers because you're talking from that knowledge. You're not talking from the nervousness about meeting this person where when we're nervous, we don't know what the frick to talk about.
But yes, and when we're talking about our business, we're in our comfort zone. So
exactly.
It takes away some of the negatives of being an introvert.
Exactly.
If you want to call them a negative.
Yeah, some people do call it negative. I've learned to leverage my introvert traits so that they become strengths, not weaknesses. And I think introverts are better networkers, but we can get into that later.
Well, that's because introverts are better listeners.
Bingo! And better questioners. We ask better questions and we listen and we ask secondary questions to dig deeper into a topic. So, yeah, exactly. That's exactly why we're better networkers, in my opinion. In your own words, how would you define business networking and why is it essential for an entrepreneur?
So, especially in my profession, there's a lot of people who don't even know what Home Watch is. So by networking with other business owners and entrepreneurs, I get the ability to explain what we do and explain how we provide a service that's giving people peace of mind because they know somebody's looking out for them. And so by networking with these people, I'm actually increasing my sales force, because when they speak to somebody who is expressing a concern, who is worried about their property here, maybe they had an alarm go off and they don't have anyone to go take care of it. That's an indicator for them to sit there and say, hey, I know a guy, and this is what he does for a living.
So could you share some insights from your entrepreneurial journey and the role that networking has, well, kind of touched on all of this, huh? So that's okay, Stefan. Reflecting on your experience as an introverted entrepreneur, what are some specific challenges you have encountered with networking, and what strategies do you employ to overcome them?
If it's a new networking opportunity, this applies to any introvert. If you're going to a new networking opportunity, there's a big chance you're nervous. You don't know a lot of people. I like to pair up with one or two people that I do know to go to events like that, because it gives you a foundation. And then you can branch out from there and talk to other people, get introductions, and kind of break the ice. Really, once you get started, and again, you're talking about your business, it's something you're passionate about. Once you get started and somebody has engaged with you, it becomes easier as time goes on. And you can get more people into the conversation.
Yes, exactly. So my theory at networking events, especially new ones, is if I get to know if I make one quality connection, it was a success. So that way I get out of my head that I got to meet 5 people, because that's unrealistic. Because most of the time we go to these networking events, there's some kind of an agenda going on. So we only have like 15 to 30 minutes of networking. So,
and you never know who that person is who's going to be a referral source for you. And as an example, in any networking opportunity, you have a tendency to prioritize who you want to talk to. And I remember back when I first started BNI, I had essentially prioritized who I was going to do one-to-ones with, who I was going to meet and have coffee with. And we had a commercial banker at the time who was in the chapter, and it wasn't high on my priority list. Not that I didn't want to talk to her. It's just there were other people who, to me, were better potential referral partners. I did have a meeting with her, and when I did, we had a great conversation. And once she understood my business, she said she had a neighbor who actually needed my service. So the point is even if that person doesn't seem like the ideal referral partner, the key is you don't know who that person knows.
Exactly. You never know. And hey, if you're craving more, hop over to my YouTube channel, Bowtie Coach, for even deeper dives. Make sure to subscribe and follow us. Your journey to networking mastery starts right here. So drawing on your experience, what practical advice would you give an introverted entrepreneur who needs to start networking?
I would, for any businessman, any entrepreneur, I would encourage them to be an expert in their field, to be comfortable in what they do, to be able to talk about it. And then I would gradually grow your network. And when you're going to a new event, bring somebody with you. You have a comfort level with that person already. It will give you comfort in a larger group.
Building meaningful connections and networking can be challenging, especially for introverts. How can introverts navigate this process without feeling overwhelmed or drained?
Well, I think you hit upon this earlier. Don't go into a room with 50 people and think you're going to get to meet 50 people. It's completely unrealistic. Like you said, make a goal to meet one person. And so meet that one person. If you meet more, that's fine. But the fact of the matter is there's no way you can go to a networking event and make a connection with 50 people. Have realistic expectations. Go in there with an idea of who you want to talk to, and then go up and make an introduction. They're there for the same reason. So they want to network too. And that should give you comfort.
My little hint is I tell people, ask good questions that get them to blab about themselves, because it's a known fact that the more somebody else talks about themselves, the more they like you. I don't know what that is, but we even had somebody this morning share that in our meeting, that I was like, yep, that's right. You talked an awful lot. And that person just thinks I'm the bee's knees now. So works for me. Just ask really good questions. And then I wait till somebody asks me, well, what do you do, before I even bring it up? They can read my name tag. It usually says what I do. So
try to ask open-ended questions, not a yes/no answer.
Yes, exactly. Definitely. Open-ended questions are the only way to ask questions, because then you can probe even deeper. So as we get ready to wrap up, I'm going to ask questions where we get to know you a little bit. So this actually says books, but I don't think of it as books, because my last interview brought up that he listens to recorded material when he's driving. So do you have a go-to book or resource or something for inspiration?
I know this probably sounds a bit corny, but I listen to podcasts all the time. They're short, they're easily digestible, and you never know which podcast you're going to pick up a little nugget that's right on the money for your particular situation at that point that can help you in your business.
I tell people in my class, try a bunch of stuff and keep the ones that work, and unsubscribe the ones that just don't click with you. So there was one guy, I'm reading his books. I love his material. I love his content. I love his brain. But when I listen to him on a podcast, can you believe that there's actually somebody who speaks faster than me? He spoke so fast. And this was before I realized I can actually slow down the podcast playback. But I click on a podcast based on the length of time. So if it's like more than 30 minutes, I'm not interested, because that's going to take a long time to listen to it. But I remember
it's with most people, that's too big of a joke.
Yeah. So I had to unsubscribe to him because I just couldn't handle it. It just he spoke so fast, and his voice just rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm like, God, I love your content, but no, I can't listen to you.
And that is a very good point, because when you're networking, you want to make sure that you don't fall into that trap. If you know you're a fast talker, work on that.
Yeah.
Also, your tone is important too. It's very difficult to speak to somebody who's very monotone. You need to do a little self-reflection and make sure that, like you said, you don't speak too fast. You're not speaking in monotone. You want to be engaging to the people that you're talking to.
How do you start and end your days?
Well, I start my days with the zoo here.
Oh, that's right. You have a menagerie of animals.
Yes, I have 4 cats, 2 dogs, and a turtle.
Oh, my goodness.
So the morning ritual takes quite a bit, because we have to feed the cats separately so they don't steal each other's food. We have to take the dogs out individually because they're still in training. And then we let the cats out, and then we got to do the litter box. So it takes about 45 minutes, the morning ritual, before we can get to the cup of coffee.
Wow. But that's actually, it takes you out of yourself, and you're in service to these little animals, these little beings. So I think that's actually a great way to start the morning, even though it's possibly frustrating at times.
It can be frustrating at times, but they do let me live here.
Hey, they don't pay the mortgage, so I don't know about letting you live there now. How do you decompress at the end of your day? What do you like to do to let go of the day?
I really enjoy cooking, so it works out well. After I'm done with my my day, I relax by creating stuff in the kitchen.
Nice. I bet David loves that.
We actually both do it, so we kind of take turns, because you get fried doing it every day.
Yeah.
And by by alternating it, we probably both enjoy it more because we're not doing it every day.
Ray and I, we started getting those prepackaged meal kits several years ago. I think like a year before COVID. So maybe 2 years before COVID. And what we found was preparing it together just created like this wonderful bonding experience. So I know exactly what you're saying about cooking together. It's like some days he's so busy, he can't join me in the cooking. And at first I'd get pissy about it. But now I'm like, oh, just cook, Stefan. He'll join you when he can. So the good thing about that is if I do all the cooking, then I don't have to clean. I can just sit there at the dining room table and watch him clean. So
there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, how can people get in touch with you? I've got the show notes. We'll put your name, your company, phone number, and your email. But is there any other way you want people to reach out to you?
Well, I encourage everybody to reach out to my website and really take a deep dive into what Home Watch is, because it's a lot of people. It doesn't have to be for seasonal and part-time homeowners. It could be people who take long trips. You really don't want to leave your house vacant and unchecked for any long period of time. So if you're going on a month safari, you should really consider having somebody checking your house at least twice. Like I said, I recommend every other week or every week, certainly no longer than every 2 weeks.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. And thank you for dancing in the conversation. And I really appreciate your time, Lou.
And thank you very much for the opportunity.
To learn more about Networking Made Simple, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey, you may even enjoy my YouTube channel at Bowtie Coach. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join me on the next episode. Bye.